All right, welcome back, Patriots. This is Mr. Love, aka the Math Patriot, bringing you another exciting lesson in the fun world of high school geometry. So, let's get on with it today. We're doing our day 3 lesson. We're talking about midpoints today. So, we talked about line segments last class time and how to find the distance between 2 points, both on a number line and on a set of coordinates, on a coordinate plane. Today we're doing midpoints, which quite frankly is quite a bit easier. So, first off, a midpoint is a point located in the exact middle. Now, that exact middle is important. Not sort of kind of somewhere in the middle. We're talking exact middle, and both sides of it are going to be exactly the same length. So, if I've got a line segment A, B, and it has a midpoint M, what that means is, well, both sides are exactly equal. Remember, we show that each side is equal by putting a little hash mark on the line segment. What that mean is, if this guy was 20, AM is 20, then what's MB going to be? 20. That's easy, right? What about the whole distance from A to B? 40. Easy enough, right? Okay. Now, also moving down here, this is still just an example. Let me see. Does that match anything I've got in front of you? Not yet. We'll get there in a second. Also, it means that if we had pieces like this, where we said that PQ was 2x, but Q is the midpoint, again, whatever is right here, we can just write in over here, and then we could use that to set up and solve an equation. The left side plus the right side equals the whole thing. We're not going to do that right now. We'll get into stuff like that later on, but for now, just suffice it to know that you could do that if you needed to. All right. The first type of example we want to do is, and by the way, this matches what's on your sheet there. We're only going to do a couple of them, not all of them. And so my points A through E are in the same places on my picture here as they are on your papers. So this is just a number line. We want to find the midpoint of DE. Now, the way we're going to do that, there's a few different ways. The first one we could do is like go old school elementary and do the whole bunny hop method, okay? So you could say that point D is right here at 7, point E is right here at 11, and if I took one hop each direction, that would give me to 8, that would give me to 10, that would give me to 9, that would give me to 9. The places the two bunnies meet, that's where our midpoint is. So our midpoint here is going to be at 10. Now, that works out great for a number line where numbers are relatively close together. That's going to get really annoying to do.
Your midpoint should be 9.
Oh, I wrote it wrong. Thank you. See, that's why I've got a class in front of me, to catch my mistakes. Okay.
This is what we don't like.
Okay, in this situation, yes, this is akin to a median. The midpoint is a median on a number line. But when we start doing it on a coordinate plane, it's not exactly a median in that case. Okay, so there are other ways to do it. I'm going to show you a couple different ones. One of these is going to translate very well when we start getting into the XY plane. This one does not, that particular method. All right, the other way you could do it is by doing this sort of thing. Our first point is at 7. Our second point was at 11. What is the distance to go from 7 to 11? Well, the easiest way of doing that is subtracting. 11 minus 7 is, 4. Well, for the midpoint, wouldn't I just go half that distance? So instead of going 4, I'm going 2. All right? So 7 plus 2 is 9. So there's my answer again, 9, right there in the middle. Okay? Another thing I could do is I could do it using algebra, where I say that it is x2 minus x1 divided by 2. Sorry, x2, forgive me, plus x1 divided by 2. Well, x1 is 7 plus x2 is 11 divided by 2. 7 plus 11 is 18 divided by 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Either one works. Notice this thing right here, all we're doing is taking the average of the 2 points, and by averaging them, Adding them up, dividing by 2, you get the midpoint. Okay? Either one of those works. All right? So, I don't know. I'm just curious. My class in front of me. How many of y'all think, like show of hands, how many of y'all think that that first bunny hop method is going to be the easiest one in the long run? Okay, I got 2 hands go up out of about 25. All right. How many of y'all think that the middle one is going to be the easiest long run? Okay, I had about 3 or 4 go up that time. How about the algebra method on the end? You think like that's going to be the easiest one? Okay, about 6 or 7. Overall, this one here on the end is the most rigorous. It gives you the most power overall. This one is kind of a logical, intuitive approach. And honestly, in many cases, I prefer to use this one, just to be honest, okay? Because it makes one particular application, the very last problem we're doing, quite easy to do. Whereas the algebra method is going to make things a little bit more difficult. Okay, let's do BD now, okay? Going from B to D, from -1 to 7. Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and skip the bunny hop thing. That was just there for an example. But let's do our other methods here. So, B is at -1. D is at 7. So, how much am I hopping to get there? What's my subtraction? 7 minus -1? It's not 6. 8. Is 8, okay? 7 minus -1 is 8. Okay, so we hopped 8. Now for this midpoint hop, I'm doing it by 4. So -1 plus 4 is 3. Okay, and then if I want to do that algebraically, we would do -1 plus 7 all divided by 2. What's -1 plus 7? -1 plus 7 is 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Okay? Either way, got to the same place. All right? All right, moving on. All right, now, when we're doing this on a coordinate plane, let's say we got the points T and U, which this is going to match, number 5. Okay, we've got the points 3 and 1. Now, in reality, here's what's going on. We got our XY coordinate plane here. We got our point at 1, 2, 3, 1. There's my point T. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. There's my point U. Now, if I want to find the midpoint, I'm trying to come in and find that piece there. Sir? Okay. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm essentially going to take that find the midpoint that we did on the number line and do it both horizontally and vertically. Okay? So, what's essentially going to happen here is figure out what my horizontal distance is, figure out what my vertical distance is, cut this in half and cut this in half, and where those two meet, that's where the midpoint is. So you'll be seeing the same process repeated just twice for this problem. Okay? So, we're not going to mess with the bunnies on this one. We're just going to go straight to our coordinate pairs. So we've got 3, 1, and we've got 5, 3. Now, on the X side, what do I have to add to get from 3 to 5? Or just subtract them. 5 minus 3 is 2. So now, when I go to add half of that, that's 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay? Now let's do that on the other side. To get from 1 to 3, or 3 minus 1 is 2. And then so half of that's 1. So we do 1, and now there's a 2 there. My midpoint is at 4, 2. All right. Now let's do it using algebra. This one is where it starts to look funky, but it's literally the same thing we did up here, just doing it twice. So the midpoint formula is that M is located at x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Remember I said earlier, average, add them together, divide by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 all over 2. Average the x's, average the y's, and yes, this is a coordinate pair because I have this thing, which will come out to a number, comma, and then just another number. Okay? So all we're going to do is just plug things in where they are. So, I'm going to go ahead and set this equation up with all my pluses and everything so I can just start substituting in. We're going to go ahead and label these as x1, y1, x2, y2. And I'll take all of these and plug them in appropriately over here. So x1 is 3, x2 is 5, y1 is 1, and y2 is 3. And now when we simplify, 3 plus 5 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. 1 plus 3 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. Same one. All right. What do y'all think? Is this tough stuff? Light work. Light work? All right, good. All right. Any questions on that one? All right. Let's do another one. Now, by the way, at this point, I'm curious. Who likes this whole kind of graphical hopping method? The one here on the left? Okay, a couple. How many of you like this one here on the right? Okay. Well, about double the amount like the one over here on the right. All right? So, here's what we're going to try. Let's do it this way first, okay? The algebraic way. So here our midpoint is going to be x1 plus x2 all divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. I'm writing the equation in every time so I am less likely to make mistakes. Here's x1, y1, x2, y2. And just like before, I'm going to scaffold out my problem before I start plugging stuff in. All right, so plugging in. X1 is -4. X2 is 5. Y1 is 2. And Y2 is -2. Thank you, sir. And now we start simplifying. All right, -4 plus 5 is 1. Divided by 2 is 0.5. And then 2 plus -2, 0 divided by 2 is 0. So 1/2 0. Now, for method number 2 over here, just to get the practice on it, we've got -4, 2, 5, -2. To go from -4 to 5, well, what's 5 minus -4? It's not 1. Because remember, this minus negative is interpreted as plus. 5 plus 4, which is 9. Half of 9 is 4.5. So I got to go 4.5. Well, -4 plus 4.5 is 0.5. All right, now you go from 2 to -2. Now, notice we're going down here. To go from 2 to -2, that's actually a negative number. And how far? Yeah. 2, well, -2 minus 2 is -4. What's half of -4? Is -2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Either way, we're at 0.50. All right? Now, here's our last example. On this one, I'm giving you 2 points, and I'm asking you to find the other endpoint, okay? So we've got N, we've got P, and this is going to match up with number 7. And we're going to try and find this last point, Q, which is the other endpoint. Now, think about what's actually going on here. We've got our set of coordinates. N is at 2, 0. P is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So if P is the midpoint, where does Q need to end up? Should it end up in the middle of them, down here to the bottom left, or towards the top right? Yeah, the point that we're looking for is going to be up here in the top right somewhere. So we got to make sure that we're going that direction. Now, you want to do the easy way or the hard way first?
Easy way.
So we got two options. You're going to do the easy way first and then freak you out with the hard way, or do the hard way first and then make you like, oh man, that other way was really easy. Let's do the hard way first, all right? All right, we're going to do the algebra method on this one. Okay. We're going to roll out my formula, x1 plus x2 all divided by 2, y1 plus y2 all divided by 2. Now, here is the major problem right now. Remember that P is the midpoint. Here is x1, y1. Here is x2, y2. x2, y2 come from Q, from the endpoint, not from the midpoint. So what that means is when we plug it in, the midpoint is 5, 2. So 5, 2 goes here. Okay? Because the midpoint is the answer. Point P is the midpoint, so that's going to go over here on the end. All right? I mean, I guess it probably made more sense if I was doing it like this. If on the other times I was actually 0.50, it's on the end, right? So then x1 is going to go, well, I guess I should probably scaffold this whole thing. X1 is going to go here. Y1 is going to go here. And then I've got to leave variables for x2 and y2. Okay, have I lost anybody yet? Already lost you? Okay, here's the big idea.
I'm just confused on how P.
Okay, so, I mean, it's on the directions of your paper, though, specifically. But we're saying that specifically P is the midpoint.
Yeah.
So, really, we're flipping around, just doing a different kind of problem here, where instead of giving you both endpoints, I'm giving you the midpoint and an endpoint. Find the other one. Just a different style of problem. Okay. Now we just solve that equation. And when we solve the equation, what we've got to realize is that this comma, it doesn't tell you to do any math. It's not like a plus, it's not a minus. It says it's just a list of things. The stuff on the left is entirely different than the stuff on the right, which you got x's over here and y's over here, and the two don't affect each other. I'm going to basically draw me a nice line down here to make sure I don't have that issue anymore. I don't accidentally cross numbers over, okay? What I'm going to do is peel off the x coordinate of both of these, and then peel off the y coordinate of both of these. So let's take the wrong one. Let's take both of these and make them into an equation down here. 5 equals 2 plus x2 over 2. Hold on one second. Before we start solving it, I'm going to set this up. Then I'm going to take my y's and do them over here. 2 equals 0 plus y2 all over 2. We okay with that? Now let's solve those two equations separately, just like you did back in Algebra 1 when you're solving systems of equations. Okay? To solve this, we're going to start off by multiplying by 2 on both sides, and those two are going to go away. 2 times 5 is 10 equals 2 plus x2. And now, how do I get rid of that 2? Subtract it off. All right. So that leaves me with 8 equals x2. All right. Now let's do our y's. Same process. Times 2 on both sides. Those divide out. 2 times 2 is 4 equals 0 plus y2. Well, and then so it's just 4 equals y2. Now I combine both these guys together, and my last endpoint, which I forget what the name of it was, q, is at 8, 4. Now, is that where we expected it to be? Is this 8, 4 feel right for this point? Okay, so it at least checked out. All right. Now, didn't that kind of take the algebra from these first sets and like just take it up a few notches? Okay. I understand. If you don't like that, I understand. Let me show you the reason why I've been showing you this other method so far. 2, 0, 5, 2. Now remember, this is the endpoint, this one's the midpoint, and my other endpoint is here. So, going up here to review something, on this one, if I go from -4, actually let's do a different one that's the nicer ones. Okay, if I start at 3 and add 1, I get 4. If I add 1 again, I get 5. If I start at 1 and add 1, I get 2. Add 1, I get 3. Add 4.5, add 4.5. I'm just doing the same jump twice, right? So on this one, what's my jump to get from
3.
2 to 5? How much did I jump? 3. So I jump 3 again, and that is 8. Here, how much did I jump? 2, 2, 4. My answer is 8, 4. Wow. The graphical organizer made it so much simpler, right? Now, here's the reason I show you both methods. Some people just really, really like their graphical organizers. Some people just really like their algebra. I don't care as long as you can produce correct results. And it's possible, like for example, honestly, whenever I do these, whenever I'm doing this myself, I will use the graphical organizer for this style of problem. However, I'll use algebra for this style of problem. I mix and match depending on what I like best. Okay? So, like I said, that's it. That's all we're doing for midpoints this time around. And I guess my class, we're about to start working on an assignment. Everybody out there in YouTube land, well, as always, stay patriotic.